So last hour we showed you our latest power rankings on the Electoral College. Now we do the last power rankings on the U.S. Senate, and this is how we see it shaping up, okay? We believe Republicans get control with 51 seats for Republicans, and the 51 might be the floor, as you're going to see in a moment here. Everything in yellow, all the blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, we believe they are still toss-ups. So what we have seen in the last 2 weeks, the tightening races in Pennsylvania, tightening races in Ohio, Michigan, and Wisconsin as well. So where does that leave us? This is what we believe, okay? We think right now, like maybe the forecasts are not necessarily going the way we expect. For Dems to have a good night, they would maintain the majority of 51, okay, on the Senate side. For Republicans to have a good night, when you consider the states that I just ticked off there, 55 would be a really good night for the GOP, and we'll see whether or not they can get to those numbers, right? Now, why is it changing? What are we seeing out there? We have moved a lot of our upper Midwest states from lean Democrat, like Michigan, to a toss-up. Lean Democrat in Pennsylvania to a toss-up. Lean Democrat in Wisconsin to a toss-up. We've also taken that Senate race in Nebraska and moved it slightly toward the Democratic column, just a bit here, from likely Republican to lean Republican. So the shade changes a little bit on the screen right here. So that's the power rankings. That's the way we see it in the U.S. Senate. We'll see whether or not in a week whether or not that's correct. John Thune, Senate Republican whip out of South Dakota, with Dana and me now. And sir, good morning to you. Thanks for coming back. What's right? What's wrong about the analysis here today?
Well, good morning, Bill. Good morning, Dana. I think your analysis is spot on. We're traveling. I'm in these states. I was in Ohio yesterday, Wisconsin today. We'll be in Michigan and Pennsylvania early next week before the Tuesday election. And what our candidates are trying to do here in these Rust Belt states is work with President Trump to tear down that blue wall. These races have all tightened. Our candidates are on message. They're talking about pocketbook issues that the American people care about. They're talking about high prices and open borders, which are the two issues that the Biden-Harris administration and all their enablers in the United States Senate are responsible for. And we think those issues are going to drive people to the votes or to the polls. We're already seeing in the early vote a lot of low propensity Republican voters turning out. Those votes are being banked, and the numbers, at least right now, the data we're seeing is really encouraging.
I read this morning that the Senate Republicans feel really good about locking down West Virginia, of course, Montana, and increasingly so about Ohio. But what about Pennsylvania, where President Trump needs to win Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris needs to win Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro is there working very hard, and John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, is saying something astonishing is happening with Trump support there. So can Dave McCormick, the Republican, get by in Pennsylvania?
I think he can, Dana. Yeah, Dave McCormick's run a great race there, and as is true in some of these other Wisconsin and Ohio and Michigan, as you mentioned. People, I think, are tired of the policies of this administration. They want to see an energy policy that makes America energy dominant. They want economic policies when it comes to taxes and regulation that get greater growth in the economy and create those good-paying jobs. And they want operational control of the southern border, which has just been an absolute disaster down there. And I think that on all those issues, economic issues, domestic issues, and then also on national security, where we see an increasingly dangerous world, people are ready for getting the adults back in the room. They're ready for President Trump, and that's why I think you see his numbers turning in states like Pennsylvania. And when they do, that also is helpful to our Senate candidates there. But we feel really good about where we are. Obviously, there's a week to go. Our candidates have to keep their foot on the gas. They have to run through the tape. But if you look at where the numbers are today and how the polling has been, how it's tightened, the trend lines are looking good for us. And so we're encouraged. We just have to execute on getting the job done and getting the voters out.
Senator, we look at the early vote every day, sometimes every hour of every day. Sometimes it drives us insane. As Dana will attest.
Us too, Bill.
Okay? In the state of Nevada, Republicans are showing up. And it's just a fact. The numbers are there. And Sam Brown is a veteran who was wounded, and he's trying to win a Senate seat there. And this is how he says his race is going right now.
Look, I'm a fighter. It's one of the reasons I'm running right now for the U.S. Senate. The Taliban tried to kill me and failed. The Democrats have tried to politically kill me and have failed, despite outspinning me 3-1.
Jackie Rosen, his opponent, has shown a lot of strength in that state. Do you think Sam Brown can win there?
I do, and one of the reasons for that, again, Bill, is what we're seeing in terms of the early vote. Nevada is one of those states that's been targeted with a lot of, identifying these low propensity Republican voters, getting them to turn out, banking the vote. Sam's numbers, the polling is tightening in Nevada. I think President Trump is going to perform really well there. I feel good about it. He's a great candidate. He'd be a great United States Senator. He's doing everything he can to win. He's worked incredibly hard, as has his team. And we just need now to, again, push through the tape on Election Day, a week from today, and get our voters out. If we do that, I think this country, I think these states, this country is ready for change. I mean, you look at the right track, wrong track numbers. They're sick of these policies. They're tired of inflation that's rampant, not out of control, over 20% since this administration took office. And they're tired of open borders, and they're tired of global instability and the feeling of insecurity they have at home in their neighborhoods. These things have to change, and our candidates are making that argument out there right to the very end, as is President Trump. And I think it's going to be, I think it potentially could be a really good day for us.
Senator, the top two issues or matters you would tackle if you become the leader of the Senate. I know you're in a Senate leadership race with John Cornyn. But if President Trump were to win again, and the Senate goes to the Republicans in terms of the majority, what are the top two issues that you guys would have to tackle first?
Well, I think first off, Dana, we've got a tax policy that expires next year. We've got to extend that. It's economic issues. It's taxes, it's regulations, it's energy dominance. I think that's going to be front and center for us. And then I think the issue with the Democrats of open borders is closing the border. Now, President Trump, when he wins, is going to be in a position to do a lot with respect to the border, but we've got to be there to support him to make sure he gets the right people in place. They all come through the Senate for confirmation. And so I think those issues are going to be paramount. And of course, always national security. You look at the world today, the United States' role there. And I think that, the one thing that it's not our strength that tempts our adversaries, it's our weakness. And what you've seen from this administration is weakness. I think it's we've got a lot of, serious concerns concerning what's happening around the world today in a lot of these hot spots. And the United States needs to be able to project strength. And that comes with President Trump, comes with a Republican Senate that will allow him to get his people into place quickly and assemble his team so that we can get to work on these problems.
Senator, thank you for your time. We can see you're in Milwaukee because we recognize the Fiserv Arena behind you, where Dana and I spent a lot of time in the last
I like
few
that place. That's a cute city. That's a charming city.
Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed it is. You give the folks in Wisconsin our best.
And by the way,
Yep.
Dana, I will. By the way, Dana, this is the home of the Green Bay Packers.
Okay, thank you.
Wisconsin, that is.
Thank you. And also the Brewers?
Very good.
Thank you.
That town.
Thank you.
Scores.
It is baseball
Indeed.
season after all.
She scores. Thank you, Senator. Talk soon.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.